Legacy automakers were warned and they laughed it off. Elon Musk says he tried to tell them autonomy was coming. He even offered to license Tesla's FSD, but every time Legacy Auto reached out, they wanted some tiny pilot program 5 years out with requirements that made no sense. Elon's answer: this is crazy and pointless. And remember, just 3 months ago, former Waymo CEO John Krafik claimed Tesla would never do robotaxi. Elon fired back. They'll switch from saying Tesla's FSD is fake to saying Tesla's FSD is unfairly good. Well, yesterday proved them right. Tesla is now approved to operate autonomous vehicles on public roads in Nevada. That means Tesla can now run autonomy in Texas, California, Arizona, and now Nevada. This is the beginning of a multi-state rollout. Today, we're diving into one of Tesla's biggest and least understood advantages, the speed of its self-driving AI. Vice President of Autonomy Ashok Elluswamy revealed that Tesla's AI-4 system can process 1 million pixels of video in just 1 millisecond. That gives Tesla vehicles a 360-degree understanding of the world, 100 to 300 times faster than a human being can process reality. This is a superpower legacy automakers will never catch. We got Brian White here with us today. Brian is one of our best Tesla retail analysts. You got to check out his YouTube channel, FutureAza. He gets exclusive factory tours and interviews. Welcome, Brian.
Great to be here. This topic, man, I tell you, I feel like we tried to warn them and they wouldn't listen.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Like retail investors, we say something, they go, you're just, full of crap, and then it's here. It happens.
And then it's here.
It's here. So this is a new, let's start off with this one, which is Tesla completed Nevada's self-certification process for its robotaxi. Sawyer confirmed with Nevada's DMV that Tesla can now deploy and operate autonomous vehicles on public roads in the state. So what Tesla now needs to do is get approval from Nevada Transportation Authority to operate a commercial robotaxi ride-hailing service. The company would likely apply for that permit soon. And once Tesla receives that final approval, it'll then be able to launch a paid robotaxi service for the public. I looked into this, and I think Grok said that it might take about 4 to 6 weeks to get that final approval, but this was what's needed. Self-certification. This is the answer that we just talked about. What's your thoughts on this new development, Brian?
So first of all, huge shout out to Sawyer for actually doing the groundwork, for actually getting offline to a different part of the internet, I guess, sending an email to the right department and getting an answer. That's amazing. The fact that there's an approval in Nevada doesn't surprise me. It's just paperwork. You just have to do it. All states that have no guidelines have tacit approval, but the last thing you want to do is roll it out and then the state creates the guidelines and for some reason you don't comply. So having these states, and let's list them again. We've got Texas, Nevada, California, and Arizona. That's over 23% of the U.S. population. People forget how populous Texas and California are. That's a big chunk of the country covered. If they only expanded into those markets and added no additional states, you could capture 25% of the rideshare business nationwide, 25% of the taxi business nationwide, and that's before we look at reducing costs, which would expand the market. So just what we've seen so far, pretty huge.
Yeah, good points. And the thing is, people are still concerned about regulation being an issue, but we'll do a show tomorrow, and it's about Waymo. Waymo's now in 24, or they plan to be in 24. They're now in they're now operating in 6 cities. They're testing at 4 more. That will be 10. But then they're saying that there's 14 new markets. If they can get into those markets, Tesla can get into them as well. And it's not just Waymo and Tesla. In each of these, there's many different autonomous companies, like 10 plus, who are trying little pilots here and there. So I don't think that the operating is going to be the issue at this point.
If you look at Texas, the State Department of Transportation has a portal where you can see all of the companies operating autonomously. Yeah. And yes, there's 10, 20, I'm not sure how many, but every city's got little flags on it, and you mouse over them and you can see Aurora, for example, is already testing driverless semis on the highways. There's a lot of and some of them are doing little neighborhood sidewalk delivery vehicles. Those are great. Hey, great. Do it. So it's nice to say that someone else is helping blaze the trail. When I see people say, well, Tesla can't do this, or it's too political, no one's going to approve it because it's too political. I say, yeah, but you either approve it for everyone or no one. and others are already out there getting the hard approvals, being the first one to make it happen. And then you just step in behind him and go, mind if I join? And that's it.
Mind if I join? Okay, so let's
Room
get to
for
the big
one
story.
more.
We're talking about Thanksgiving? No. Okay. Let's get back to the big story here. This is when Elon basically said that there's no other automaker that's asked. There's been a bunch asking them, but there's no serious partnership for licensing FSD at this point. So it started off with this story we reported on yesterday. This analyst, Milius Research, basically said, you know what? Tesla is a must-own stock because it's a dramatic shift. Tesla's autonomous driving lead is approaching an irreversible tipping point that could trigger one of the biggest value shifts in modern industrial history. Tesla's a must-own stock. Obviously, as they switch over to autonomy, the point is not that Tesla's at risk, is that everyone else is. In 5 years, we'll see hundreds of billions billions in value shift to Tesla. So this is happening. Everybody's realizing it now. FSD supervised is great. FSD unsupervised is rolling out. And Lewis said, I will take no joy in this, but they have had plenty of warning time because all of these legacy makers have not yet shown any path, and they've not called to Tesla or strike a deal with Tesla. Here's what Elon said. He said, I've tried to warn them and even offered to license Tesla's FSC, but they don't want it. Crazy. When Legacy Auto does occasionally reach out, they tepidly discuss, well, maybe we can implement FSD for this tiny program in 5 years, and then there's these unworkable requirements that we need you to do. And Tesla said it's pointless. 2 dinosaur signs. Oh, brother, there's a lot to unpack here. What's your take on this comments?
So I could see someone like Ford saying, we're only going to put it on Lincolns, and it needs to be in 5 years because, development cycles. And we're going to need you to have all this flexibility for all this impossible supply chain, making all the different bibs and bobs. That's ridiculous. Put it on all the Fords or go home. The analogy we've used many times when talking about FSD is the gold mine. So, Herbert, I've got this plot of land. I would like you to help me develop it. It's got gold. I promise it does. I've shown you tests. I've shown you all these iterations. And you keep saying, yeah, but I don't know. And here we are years later, and I've shown you the results at every step. Years later, I am hauling out mining cart after mining cart of just straight gold nuggets. And now you're saying, well, maybe in 5 years, you still don't see the gold? No, we're going to go with NVIDIA because they sell picks and shovels. That's great, but they don't have the plot of land. They don't have the gold. They just hope you can find it. Where are you going to get all the training data? How are you going to process it all? And who are you going to get to code it? You are missing every piece of the puzzle, Ford, GM, and others. Rivian's got an autonomy day coming up. I reached out to them and asked for an invitation. I have not heard back. I am on the 3rd rung of their PR list. I don't get the invites. I don't get correspondence. What I get is press releases. The fact that they don't want me at their autonomy day means they don't want someone there who's capable of poking holes in it. And I get it. I wouldn't want me there either if I didn't have something that was amazing. So this is a tough time for the legacy guys, because even the ones who were committed to, no, nobody wants this, it's not going to happen, they're waking up to it. And it's terrifying. They realize just how far behind they are.
Yeah, so you did a good point there about how even if they do want it's 5 years, but they're only doing it for tiny tests. But here's the part that I'm trying to understand based on this comment here, right? One is it's the argument that many people are saying is that Legacy Auto will never license FSD. Why? Because it's basically the car, right? They will become bricks, and they're licensing autonomy from another company. We got to do it our own. That makes sense. But then why would they then say, oh, okay, no, we do want to partner with you. But if we did, tiny program, 5 years, and you need to do all this stuff. So it's either they shouldn't have said, they should not even reach out at all, basically.
Well, they're keeping doors open, or at least trying to. When you look at the amount of time and money and brain power that Waymo required to get as close as they are to the solution that they have, which still isn't perfect. That should tell you that you can't just throw money at it. You can't just you can't throw anything, one specific thing at it. You need an all of the above package. And even then, there's no guarantee that you will solve it within 10 or 15 years. Guys, at some point, it's okay to partner with better people. There's a reason, Dell has never made their own chips. They get them from Intel or whomever, AMD, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you need the greater competency to bail you out. And that's what we're seeing. Are we seeing it? I guess that's what we should be seeing. And I don't think we are. My hope is that some second tier auto company, some company that has no ambitions to solve it themselves will step up and say, look, it's too much money. It's too much work. We're in. Help us. Somebody like Nissan or Honda, somebody who's not doing the kind of volume they did 10 years ago and needs a jump start.
We can have this discussion. I'm not so sure it's important for licensing FSD anymore. Tesla will just make as many cars as they can.
It's not important for Tesla, but for the survival of your company, for the survival of the other companies, it is. It is, because we'll be 10 years out from here. Everybody will have autonomy, and these laggards will be stuck. Just stuck.
Existential. Okay, so this is an interesting comment from Elon about 4 months ago in August, and he said this. So what happened was ex-Waymo CEO John Krafkic was interviewed, and he said, please let me know when Tesla launches a robotaxi. I'm still waiting. It's not a robotaxi if there's an employee inside the car. So he was making fun of the June launch. He said this in August. And then just a reminder, 2019, Waymo began their early rider program in Arizona. A select group of people tried the customer service. Safety drivers were present in the cars. Riders were temporarily put under a non-disclosure agreement. So it's not unusual when you first launch something to have a rider in the car. This is the guy, not impressed. Anyway, so this is what Elon, I'm not going to go through all this. I've covered it many times before. Sorry, I have it here. But Omar said, okay, well, we'll let you know. You let me know when I can buy a Waymo. Wonder which will happen first, right? So obviously Waymo is not for sale, but every single Tesla is ready for Here's what Elon said at the time. He said, they will switch from claiming that Tesla self-driving is fake to self-driving is unfairly good. Where are we on this timeline? Are they still saying it's fake?
Well, depends who you ask. Many of them, yes. Saying because there's an occupant in the vehicle is deeply, deeply dishonest. They're not behind the wheel. They're in the passenger seat. They can't intervene. They can't make a change. I saw a gentleman on X yesterday saying, boy, Tesla's robotaxis have had all these accidents, and that's with a person in the car. Right, but they're not able to do anything to change the trajectory of the vehicle. You do know that part, right? And then we dig into the accidents and we find that 2 of them were while the car was stopped. Another one is undetermined. So about half of them not at fault. Only 2 of them were definitively at fault, and there was no damage. So or minimal damage. Those accidents, those barely any damage accidents, you and I don't report those when those happen. Have you ever seen somebody just tap somebody else at a stoplight? They both get out, look at it, shrug, keep going. With a robotaxi, that would be a report. It would be a legally required report. So we're going to see artificially high collision numbers just because everything's reported. And it's not going to be necessarily, it's going to be noise, not signal. These companies, And to say that that they're too good, they're in trouble. They know they're in trouble.
I think we're there. That's what's going to happen very, very soon. Limiting factor, saying what I was saying just earlier, I was never a big fan of the licensing deal anyways, licensing idea. It would likely be a drag on Tesla's own ambitions. Exactly. I do think Tesla should keep the door open, though. That's because, one, FSD saves lives. Very good point, right? It's a moral imperative for Tesla to share this technology. It would preempt criticism about Elon being greedy when robotaxi reaches monopolistic levels of market domination. So this part about, them complaining that's unfairly good, but Elon did try. He'd announced it many years ago, please partner with us, please license us. They said no, and now they're here. And now, how likely is it that you're going to actually get monopolistic laws and restrictions, and how dare Elon to, be the only one to win.
Monopolies are very rare in the legal sense. You look at GM once had more than 50% of US market share. They were not a monopoly, not ruled to be a monopoly. It has more to do with unfair competition. If Tesla was refusing to license, then they could be perceived that way. But if you went to, look at how big Google search became. It had 97, 98% of the search market. It was not deemed a monopoly because competition did exist. It's not Google's fault that the competition was garbage.
Good point.
And it remains garbage. I don't know how they've done it. It's really
that's
impressive.
a very good point. Okay, so no one's licensing Tesla FSD, but that statement by Elon makes it sound like it's not happening. It really isn't happening at this point.
It would require a degree of ambition that the legacy automakers do not appear to possess.
And even if it did, right? So, I mean, because remember, he did say previously as well, then he said something like, once they realize how good it is, they will all start calling, something like that, And so now we are at that point. 14.2 is so good at this point. You saw the, statements by lots of other analysts now. But if they did start calling, it still will take 3 years at the minimum.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 3 to 5, depending where they're at in their cycle.
To have one line. Yeah.
To have the first vehicle running. I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think Tesla would refuse it. I think Tesla would. Elon has said repeatedly, we need a big deal. We want, it's not worth the engineering hassle for a narrow focused product. It needs to be big. And they're not willing to do that. It's expensive, Herbert. You got to put thousands of dollars into every vehicle, even if the license was free. And I don't think the license would be free. I think what they would do is say, you can mark it up to whatever, but we're going to give you a wholesale cost and we're going to collect all the money on the back. Not all, but you can charge as much as you want, but we're going to take a good chunk of it.
Okay, I mentioned earlier that we're going to do our show tomorrow, which is a real head-to-head comparison of Tesla Robotaxi versus Waymo. But one of the points that makes Tesla so good is how the speed of their AI inference chip and how that's important. People think that, Waymo's got the LiDAR. Waymo's already out there in many cities. Again, we'll do the comparison. But they don't realize that it's like you can't, it's like apples and oranges. It kind of looks like it's doing it, but it's not really doing it. It's not really able to do it. The couple big reasons why Tesla is miles ahead, literally, so far ahead in terms of how good of a robotaxi they can do. The first one, of course, is miles driven. Tesla said that we already have 6.5 billion miles driven. FSD is basically the oldest and most experienced driver in the world. Average, and Yon Tasai is a Tesla autonomous AI engineer. He said average humans drive 13,500 miles annually. So this translates to 481,000 years of driving. I don't know. Was that I think that might have been a mistake. That's a comma. 481 million years of driving.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, I suppose. It's it's a staggering number either way. So let's talk about that real quick. The speed of the processing. What most systems do, what Tesla used to do, is look at the world, convert it into a visual representation of the world, apply labels, and then act on it. And then at some point, the AI team said, why are we translating everything it sees into human perception? It's not a human. It doesn't need to see things the way we see things. Photons in, controls out. Why are we? So Tesla uniquely has skipped that step. So imagine at the Science Center, there's this thing where you do a light comes on, you push a button or whatever to test your reflexes. You know how much faster a robot would be at that. They can process more quickly. And what all the other companies are doing is looking at a light bulb, understanding a light bulb, and interpreting it. What Tesla's doing is just saying, as soon as that photon is off, I hit the button. That's it. Photons in, controls out. It's going to win that race every time. And what the cars are doing is a much more advanced version of that. So it's
great explanation. We're going to cover exactly how fast Tesla system can react. But, that's a very good point, right? So when Waymo does their program, they have to have the LiDAR and the vision comes in. Then they've got software and NVIDIA chips that have to process it. Each of those are layers. And so their latency to react is a lot slower than Tesla's is. And so people go, oh, they assume that if you've add LiDAR, an extra sensor, that means it's safer. It'll never get into accidents because it can see things. But actually, most accidents happen not because it didn't know that it was there. It's that they didn't react and didn't know when to react and how to react and prevent it from happening in the first place. There was several accidents that Zoox had and that Waymos have had where they're driving along and then the car in front of them decides to cut in front of them. So Waymo has their LiDAR. They have the vision. They know that it's there. But for them to interpret where the car is headed and then that it's going to be an accident happening, it's too much latency for them to make that decision. So they still have the accident. Versus Tesla can see that because it's instant. Like they can, as it's starting to move, it understands what's going on and it'll slow down faster and react quicker. Especially if you don't have to have the two, which one is, the LiDAR sensor plus the vision sensor, the two of them coming in, and you have to make that decision first. If that takes time for them to decide which one is what's really happening.
You got to balance the Minority Report, just like the movie. In this case, we've seen enough behavior from Tesla and enough behavior from Waymo and the others to understand that, like you said, it's not a lack of perception, but a lack of determination that causes the accidents. We've seen Waymos, was it Waymo or Cruise? It might have been Cruise, rear-ended a bus.
Yeah.
You saw the bus. Please tell
LiDAR.
me if you didn't see the bus, then just quit. Although, to be fair, Cruise did quit. So there are, the speed of it is critical. And the other part of that, when Waymo started this project, they knew it was going to take some time. So the amount of compute that they put in the car was infinite, quasi-infinite. The whole back half of the car practically was compute because we just need to solve it and then we'll scale it back. And by the time we're done, processing will be more advanced, no problem. But as a result, even today, I saw it's something like 350 watts of power or 500 watts of power to run the Waymo system versus Tesla at like 30. It is wildly inefficient. I mean, that's a lot of kilowatt hours just in compute. That's going to have a cost of its own. And one that I haven't factored in when I've been looking at the cost comparisons between Waymos and cybercabs, it never occurred to me, and also knock a quarter off their range because of all the compute requirements.
And that's the point I'm making here. The biggest competitive advantage that Tesla actually has that few have talked about is the inference chip that they have and how high performance, how high latency or low latency, how quickly it reacts. So here's a few more Elon Musk and Tesla executive comments about this whole point. Elon said this in November 8th, which is 2 weeks ago. He said, not sure if it's super new as we've been doing something along these lines at Tesla for a while, but it does make sense. He's referring to a Google announcement of how quickly that they can do the inference. The single biggest technical challenge of Tesla's self-driving AI, the single biggest technical challenge of Tesla's self-driving AI is context compression of 1.5 gigabytes per second of video to 2 kilobytes per second of control outputs using a puny inference computer without making any mistakes. So they've been working on this problem, and this is super hard to avoid overly lossy compression at any given step. This is Tesla's skill. They've been working on this, and this is because they're fully integrated with their own chip, their own software, their own hardware. They're able to figure this out. As you said, video in, input out within seconds, 2 kilobytes per second. And then he talked about this. I already covered it yesterday. Don't know Tesla has an advanced AI chip and board engineering team. We've already deployed several million AI chips in our cars and data centers. That's why we are the leader in real-world AI. And then Ashok Elluswamy said, these chips are heavily co-designed with Tesla's AI software teams, right? So the chips themselves and the software guys, they've been working together, beating a large margin on performance per watt, which is what you were talking about, and performance per dollar. So for instance, AI4 can process and understand 1 million pixels of streaming video within 1 millisecond. I thought at first that there must have been a typo.
Right. I must be reading that wrong.
1,000,000 pixels of streaming video, 1 millisecond, like 1 millisecond. That is like, this is only achievable because the software and hardware are designed together. Okay. This guy, Cybercab, explained this in his answer. Tesla FSD AI4 understands 1,000,000 pixels in 1 millisecond. The meaning of this figure. It takes about 200 to 300 milliseconds for a person to blink once. It also takes about 200 to 250 milliseconds for a person to see with their eyes and then recognize it. And you were saying that earlier. A computer is much faster than a human. A human takes 200 to 250 milliseconds to see something and then recognize what it is. And that's why pro gamers or F1 drivers, athletes, that's why they're so good at what they do, right? Because they happen to process it faster than I can. And their speed of reaction is so much quicker. It's about half the time of a regular person. Makes sense? This means Tesla understands this 360-degree situation 100 to 300 times faster than a human. In that short time of 1 millisecond, 1/1000th of a second, it already knows what's going on. So it's looking 300 degrees situation. There's 8 cameras, every pixel all around. And then there's a reference about 35 million pixels come in at once from the 8 cameras. I mean, you can think of it as almost understanding the situation around the vehicle in real time. And that's AI4.
Right.
AI4. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when the compression issue is critical, you can't store the whole thing. When you and I experience something, we don't save the whole experience. We compress it. Our brains compress the heck out of it. And we make errors. Eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable. And even in looking around, how many times have you seen a brown paper bag blow onto the street and thought, uh-oh, an animal? What's amazing is 1414, 1417 had a problem with leaves blowing onto the road, and it compressed them wrong. It compressed them as that could be an animal. And 1 week later, it's solved. So I'd like to see someone else do that. It's not going to, it's a monumental challenge.
Yeah.
But they've got some really great engineers.
They do. Okay. And you got the data, you got the rollout. So, it's clearly Legacy Auto, whether or not they're going to decide to partner with FSD, will they be forced to? So they've said, no, we got to figure it out ourselves. Oh, crap, my competitor has solved it. Let me test it. Oh, my God, they've done it. They're about to go mass market. We can see where this is headed. We need to create our own car. It's going to take us 3 to 5 years to get started. Where are my options? I'm going to partner with Rivian.
Mobileye? Yeah.
Mobileye?
Yeah. I don't know who else. In the US, in China, there's a variety of options. Maybe they'll look at trying to get some kind of sequestered version of something like the Huawei system. That would work, but I don't know legally how that would work. I don't know practically how that would work. And their systems.
Right. The U.S. will say no. They're not going to let Chinese software, especially autonomous software, into the U.S. soil.
I would be very skeptical.
There could be some, even if they wrapped it up and said, okay, it's yours, they can find some sort of, you never know, right? There could be some sort of code that says we're actually, a backdoor track everything if we needed to. You can't let that happen.
And in 6 months, the rules could change. So I think the risk is too great. Could you imagine getting 2.5 years into development when you find the back door and you're like, nah, can't risk it. You're done. So I think there are very few options. I do see a path for Tesla to license it to these companies. Tesla would just have to say, look, there's it's got to be on our terms, and here's the terms. They're not going to be financially onerous, but we are going to ask you to do a lot of your own engineering because we can't do that hard part for you. And I think that it would be unethical to not allow others to improve road safety for everyone. And I think Elon would take that into consideration and say, look, if I want to keep this for myself, lives will be lost. So let's make a deal. I don't know. That's just my thought.
my little thing I've been thinking about for a while is that who is most likely to partner with Tesla? And one angle a few people have talked about that I've talked about is I think that it could be family-owned brands.
Oh,
If you're a family-owned brand, let's say you're Ford, this is a legacy, right? Do you want your legacy to die? Maybe you're willing to still keep the Ford brand, but then license out the most core technology, create the cars, but it's clearly, the most important part of it is license out, but at least you keep your brand alive. Other car companies
more importantly, you wouldn't tell your customers it's the most core thing. You would tell them it's the least important thing, but we have it.
Commodity.
The most important thing is the heart and soul of this vehicle.
It's like Android, right? It's like, does it matter if you're using the Android software? It's the core iOS. But the other part is the other automakers, they're run by CEOs, right, who have a 3-year contract. So they're not going to do anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be responsible for killing the brand. They're just not. There's no motivation.
Worse than the 3-year contract, they have a 1-quarter horizon.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The motivations are all messed up in that regard. I don't think all hope is lost for legacy guys. I think they have a path. I think that path may lead through Silicon Valley. May lead through Fremont.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was great conversation. Follow Brian. Check out his YouTube channel, FutureAza. He does these kind of deep dives, and we rely on him. Thank you. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.